Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 1, The Heirs of the Dragon. Welcome, everybody. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button and the share button as well. And if you feel like gambling or you just feel lucky, you can hit that bell down below, and YouTube may or may not notify you when I come on live. Best thing to do is go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media there and all the links to my pages. All right. Let's get to it, shall we? Spoiler alert. I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Hey, Cheryl. Give you enough time to hit pause, stop, whatever you need to do. Okay. So, I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial here. Maybe, I don't know. I found it boring. Quite honestly, the first episode. It felt a lot like a rehash of the later episodes of Game of Thrones, but just basically taking place 200 years roughly before Game of Thrones happened. A Mercenary X84. Um, yeah, yeah. Just a lot more dragons. That's all flying around, and I don't know how I feel. I mean, granted, it's the first episode, so I'll give it that. And they're trying to swing for the fences, but they're kind of. I think it's just because they've got that arm tied behind their back where they still are part of that Game of Thrones world, and it's a prequel. So of course you need to be aware of all the stuff that came after everything that's going on now and live up to the prophecy or the history, if you will, of everything that came before your Game of Thrones. So that's where this is going to have problems, and at least for me, because it's not going to be its own entity. It's going to be for me, it seems like it's just going to be another rehash, and it seems like that's where they're going with this. It's like everything's has repeated itself. So everything that's happening in this, the House of the Dragon, is things that have happened already in Game of Thrones. So yeah. Penn says it felt very familiar, but I really felt myself enjoying being back in that world. It really made me miss the first season of Game of Thrones. Bittersweet, but I'll tune back in. Uh, so what is a genital mutilation? And yeah, I know the whole thing with Damon's city watch going through and cleaning up the streets, if you will, of King's Landing with chopping off hands of thieves, killing murderers, and then of course cutting off the privates of rapists. Um, that's what's going on there. Also, the involuntary C-section of the queen. She was going to die either way. I mean, quite honestly, when you think about it, if they didn't get the baby out of her, she was going to die. If they kept the baby in her, she was going to die. The baby had a 50-50 chance of living if they got it out of her. It was just a very brutal and graphic way of doing it. And I watched the after, if you go past the credits, they actually were talking about that they made it brutal because that was at the time there was a 50-50 chance that you died in childbirth. Because of stuff that was going, the medicine at the time, or medicine, if you will, as they called it. I'm doing a lot of this now, but but yeah, it was because of that. So yeah, the so Matt Smith's character, I almost said Matt Damon. Matt Smith's character Damon, is he really a villain? And the way they're approaching it, or I said the way Matt Smith is approaching it, according to his after credits scene, is that, or after credits interview, is that he is not he's not going after this as a villain role. He's looking at it as someone who actually cares for his family, but at the same time wants the same opportunities as everyone else. And so yeah, so shit is going to go down, but at the same time, he does love his niece. He does love his brother, but his brother pigeonholes him, things of that nature. I'm I'm hoping the writing is actually going to step up to that level to show us that instead of having to tell us that in the after, credits, interviews and whatever they have going on, the after scenes, if you will, which HBO likes doing. Um, because I'm not seeing it so far. I mean, you see a little bit of it with Matt Smith, helping out his niece a little bit, but at the same time, it also felt kind of creepy too. There was some kind of weird dynamic that was going on there too that I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was me putting something on there, but it felt kind of creepy. And it also kind of reinforced it when when Hightower sends his daughter to console the king just after his wife dies, basically says, "Hey, why don't you wear one of your mother's dresses too? See if you can seduce the king and maybe get a baby out of it, so we can." Yeah, yeah. So I wasn't happy with it, Move Finobi. So yeah, but then again, other people were. Um, the dragons, what can I say? They've actually had a chance to work on those quite a bit. Although there is one scene, I'll tell you right now, um, when she is landing, when she being uh Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra, yeah. And I'm gonna murder these names because of course they're all spelled all kinds of fucked up ways, and I can't get rid of I can't pronounce names as they are when they're spelled correctly, let alone the way this is, but you know it's one of those things that so when she lands initially when she's riding the dragon, you can see the seam on the dragon's neck. At least I saw it. I was like, what the and I was like, wow, did you guys render that fully or what's at first I don't know if it was the rain. I don't know. I was trying to see if it was the rain, but it wasn't the rain. I think it was actually the seam in between the CGI. And I was like, wow, okay, great. And that was just me not really paying attention. I was actually cooking dinner at the time too, so I was kind of going back and forth between that. That's because I started getting bored with it. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you on that one. Mercenary says at least they're keeping the morally gray element around with the characters. Yeah, true. But they need to step something up. Honestly, the writing is the same as the final seasons of Game of Thrones. You need to bring some other writers in and amp up the volume, if you will, on that one. And thank you, Move Finobi, by the way, for the tip. You didn't need to do that. Um, I don't know. Your mileage may vary. If you really like Game of Thrones, then you're probably going to like this. Me, I was on the fence about the last season, of course, and eh, eh. So yeah, it's uh it's an hour-long episode, so I mean, take what you will out of it, you know? So, yeah, I wasn't too thrilled with it. I'm gonna continue to watch. I mean, the whole thing with Succession and of course they're so we already know that the woke dudes are going to go fucking ape shit over this with the whole patriarchy thing and blah 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 blah. Because that's what this whole thing is all about, too. This series is about Rhaenyra being named as the successor to the king because both his wife and his male-born heir had died in childbirth. So he's bucking convention, and instead of naming a male heir, which would have been Damon, Matt Smith's character, his brother, he is actually naming his daughter. And now there is going to be a fight between the daughter and the uncle, or I should say the niece and the uncle, over the throne because, of course, he thinks he needs it or he wants the throne. And of course, the rest of the council, with a few exceptions, are thinking that he's a little too unhinged to become ruler of Westeros, and more than likely so. And then, of course, the king imparting on his daughter that the prophecy about, the ice and fire. I always want to say fire and ice because that's actually how everyone says it. But George R. R. Martin had to switch around ice and fire. Okay, so which of course we don't doesn't happen for another 172 years. So that's where we're at there. um, yeah, I'm still not sold on this at all. And we need a little bit more. We really do. Penn says at least one council member wants the queen who never was. Uh, well, yeah, it wasn't that her husband. I think that was her husband. Yeah, that was her husband that wanted the queen who never was. So of course he's probably going to be a little bit biased. I think, but yeah. And it's the same thing with Hightower. Hightower sent his daughter in to basically fuck the king when he's mourning his wife. I mean, come on. And I'm just gonna say right now, Reese Ifans, I always can never pronounce his name. Um, I'm not really a fan of his as an actor. So him playing this slimy character actually kind of works for me on that much. So yeah, I don't know. Penn says I'm not sold, but it has to be better than Game of Thrones. Not necessarily. I mean, it could be a lot shittier than Game of Thrones too. We don't know. So, yeah, the woke bro contingent is going to go nuts over this. Go figure. I mean, they go ape shit over everything now. So who knows? Um, I'm That's actually gonna be pretty funny too at the same time because it's just a stupid. It's really a stupid thing of calling out something like the patriarchy or I mean anyway, we know that whole thing is going to be stupid. So there we go. Um Sirius says I'll be watching more, but I'm still waiting to feel generally attached to any character. Game of Thrones always has always had great characters, but there was always someone, Eddard, John, Tyron. Yeah, exactly. So for me, I was thinking back to the first episode, and I know I've got Game of Thrones, the first season, someplace up here in a box set. Or no, you know what? Actually, I sold it. Take that back. I sold it back. But yes, I did. At the time, I didn't have HBO. I bought the first season on Blu-ray. I watched it. I liked it. That first episode where Jon Stark goes in, gets decapitated, of course, because Sean Bean needs to die, of course, and everything he's in order for it to be good. I like that first episode. You actually do get attached to certain characters in that first episode. Um, and then, of course, as it builds, it gets better and better until you get to about season 6 or so, and that's when everything falls to hell. But that first episode grabbed me. This first episode, I've got nothing, no attachments to anybody. I really don't care about the characters at all, and it feels more like this was a story that was told within Game of Thrones, like someone was reading it from a book, and that's where this feels. It feels more of one of those episodes, in Game of Thrones where someone's telling a story about the past, and so they're redoing the past or showing the past, that kind of thing. And yeah, eh, that's where we're at. Sirius says, here there's no one really good except the daughter, and presently she's a somewhat empty character. I agree with you, yes. Popeye Pliskin says my HBO Max wouldn't play the episode last night. Apparently was a common problem for HBO. Oh, okay. Sirius says every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin, except they've all been kind of shit since Daenerys goes off the deep end too. They need to show us a nice Targaryen. Yes. Penn says I was a little curious, and I actually tuned in to a few minutes of one of the worst of the woke reviews. They actually hated, yeah, of course. And the thing is, She-Hulk, by the way, is a comic accurate She-Hulk. So really, if you're hating on the story, I mean, if you're hating on that Disney Plus series, it's the same as the comics. So basically, you were never a fan of the comic anyway. So yeah, yeah. Uh, so yeah, you want to see a nice Targaryen that doesn't go all murderous and ragey and all that kind of stuff. I get it. Yeah, yeah. Siri says it's coming off awfully negative, but I actually thought it was all right. It's just the same old prequel. Yeah, again, the prequel, like I said, it's handcuffed to what came before it, and which is kind of funny when you think about that, because they are now locked into what has already come before it, because that is now the future of what they're showing us. So, and I'm going to say this: George R. R. Martin is not a great writer. He has some interesting ideas that he puts together. He does make some intriguing plot lines, but his writing itself, no bueno. Um, yeah, and he's one of the executive producers of this. And I believe he's the one who is okaying the scripts. So there you go. Siri says, haha, I don't need tons of non uh just give me one. Yeah, I know. The music from the show still gives me goosebumps. Popeye Pliskin says, you know what? I actually started getting the music confused with the Westworld theme. At one point, I was like, is that the Westworld? No, wait, that's the opening theme to Game of Thrones. Okay. It honestly, I got confused for a second because, Westworld just ended there. Yeah. Penn said they should have tried to distance themselves from Game of Thrones instead of making so many nods, including the theme music. I agree with you. Yeah. Um, again, like I said, they're just handcuffed to what came before it, and so that's where they have to go with it on that one. If they can make it their own, I don't see how, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Seriously, I love the music. It sounds like Westworld because it's the same person. Oh, okay, that's why. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, because it honestly, I thought it was the same tune for a minute, and then I was like, "Oh no, wait, no, that's yeah." Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It just it's that same up and down, up, down, up, down. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, with that said, yeah, I'll cover the next. Again, if it's 4 episodes in a row like this, where I'm just kind of like, this, I'm not following this, or not following this, but you know what I mean. I'm just not interested in this. It's not holding my attention. Then I'm going to just bail on it at that point. That's kind of what I do here. If I don't like 4 episodes in a row, if they are, if I'm just going to end up hate reviewing things, I'm going to trash it and just not go for it at that point. How many episodes are there in the series, Pen? Let me see here. um 10 episodes. 10 episodes in the series is what they have going on there, Pen. I happen to have IMDb up because I'm looking at people's fucked up names and their spellings and all that stuff. Like the Rhaenyra. Then you have, Otto. I mean, Otto Hightower is fine. Corlys Valeron, Missaria, Sir Kristen Cole. So not Sir SIR, but SER. And if you had the subtitles on, you get all those names. But yeah, at the same time, I was like, Jesus Christ. Is there going to be a time jump? Hopefully. Maybe they go to the future, like the far future. And then there's dragons in space. Yeah. Penn says, "Oh, I thought it was shorter. Thanks. I'll probably stick it out for Matt unless it really sucks." Yeah. I, Cheryl, I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's going to cover the entire. So this is the other thing that actually kind of confused me here. In Game of Thrones, they say at the very beginning of Game of Thrones that the Iron Throne the one that's made up of swords, was made by that current king. I can't remember his name now. After there was a great war, and they ended up, of course, melting all the swords together into that Iron Throne. But here we have the Iron Throne in King's Landing 172 years before that already made, and I'm just going, something doesn't gel right here. So this is the one thing that doesn't make any sense to me in this series, is why they have the Iron Throne already there made up of swords. And when they were supposed to do that, 100 and roughly about 150 years later. So that throne is not OSHA approved. No shit, Popeye Pliskin. I mean, come on. He just nicked himself when he was sitting down on the throne. You think they would have just filed those things down a bit. Yeah, there is a time jump. I take that back. Thanks, Pen. Because I was actually looking at the IMDb page, and there's a young Princess Rhaenyra, and then there is Princess Rhaenyra, played by Emma Darcy. So Emma Darcy plays the older princess, and Millie Alcock plays the young princess, who we just saw in this episode. And the same thing with Alicent Hightower. We have a young Alicent, and we have an older Alicent. So yeah, there you go. But that's kind of like the Star Wars prequels explaining Darth Vader. Somewhat. Except we don't care as much about this Vader still. It can be done if the writing is impeccable. Yeah, that's not going to be the case. I mean, come on. George R. R. Martin has already shown that he has the attention span of a fucking gnat on ADHD, I should say, and Coke. So, yeah, he really does not have that much of an attention span. And I don't really hold out hope that this is actually going to make a coherent, narrative on this. I hate to say it, but I'm not kicking you when you're down, Sirius. I'm just telling it like it is. Let you be an optimist. Where's the fun in that? All right, I'll let you be an optimist. How about that? Speaking of optimism, what do I got going on for the rest of this week? Well, tomorrow I'm off. Wednesday is going to be another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And this time around, it is the season and series finale of Lock and Key, which is on Netflix. That's season 3, of Lock and Key on Netflix. I'll be doing that on Wednesday. Thursday is a double header. It's the Shevening. See what it is? Because there's 2 female-led. Never mind. She-Hulk's going to be at 6. Harley Quinn at 7. Friday is going to be Resident Alien. Saturday I'm going to be off, and then Sunday is going to be the Sunday edition of Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week, any genre stuff you guys want to talk about, and we talk about it. And then, of course, we roll around back again to Monday night with this House of the Dragon. There we go. Oh, girls' night. Yes, it's girls' night, Pen. Exactly. What, you didn't like Shevening? That was, all of like 5 milliseconds of thought on that one. I had to think about what I was going to say, and then it just popped out. Yeah. Yes, I understand it wasn't the best thing that I said or made up, or that's what happens. That's called, Shevening works. You think so? Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, and why would you be? Take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library, and pops up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button, the share button as well. And you can go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it every week. Also, I have the links all to my social media there, and all the links to my pages as well. Sirius says, I like it, wear it like armor. No, I'm not serious. I'm good. Popeye Pliskin says, I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. Thanks, Popeye. Um, that sounded very ominous too, but no, no. Um, yeah, I don't get into any of those stupidity things that let's just say there's a lot of real stupid thing that happened on YouTube. I don't get involved in any of those because honestly, I just don't care. Oh, down with the patriarchy. Up with people. Nobody? Anybody? Uh, I'm sorry. That was a bad one. That's a leftover from the 70s for those of you not born in this, only born in this millennium. Anyway, thanks everybody. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. I almost forgot what day it was. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may get it slapped by a dragon that's flying by to incinerate a mom and her little baby boy. Wait, is that too soon? Probably is. Thanks, everybody. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Until then, stay safe, be well, take care. Wear those masks, get those vaccine shots, get the boosters as well. They don't work without the boosters. And I'm going to Disneyland, so you motherfuckers better be boosted and vaccinated. So I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Stay safe, be well, take care, and have a good rest of your night and a good Tuesday as well. Talk to you later, and thanks, everyone.